So I think that way of working, looking back on it, has been really important in terms that lots of people were drawn in. And what did it actually produce? Well, it produced all those things you saw recently. I won't go through them, you saw them very well. Most importantly, the way it operated, it produced that SCIF money. Because what Kath and Matthew were able to go to Andrew Davis as a finance minister say, you put your money in here, you will get a delivery. You really will get a product. There's nothing more than a minister likes than that, I can tell you, to say, right, we put our money in and this is what will come out. And that was only possible, as you've heard people say, because you were all working together, because you could actually turn something around really quickly. And because all the things that were said about housing, how it creates jobs, how it helps in climate change, how it actually helps to sustain communities, keep schools open, all those things really can come together and be delivered. So I'm really pleased when Kerry said they're going to commission a piece of evaluation to see if that works. Because from my experience, what was galvanised during that time was a whole amount of trust and respect for one another's contribution, one another's role. And if you're looking at the partnership word or the C word on collaboration, really at the heart of it all working is around trust, trust and respect. And Lisa was saying to me, we were talking the other day about it, and she said, it's because we're all in it together. And I did, this is my little diversion here, I did cringe when she said that, because you remember a few weeks ago, George Osborne said, we're all in it together, yeah? And as they say in Cardiff, I don't think so, love. I don't think so, love. I think he meant you were all in it together when he said it, but I definitely mean we are all in it together. So there's been so much to be done, and those products, and actually at one stage there was a good example of the work streams actually de facto being the decision-making part of this. The interim social housing grant was a really good example when they needed some quick decisions. And a group of parents, and you wouldn't have put your money on getting an answer, a common answer out of this, because there were some difficult areas for people to make compromises around there. But I think that trust had kicked in by then, and they knew they needed to get an answer to make it work. And I think a lot of thanks to this goes down to the project team. That's Lisa, Belinda, Tom, who worked so hard, led by Kath, who worked so hard to make sure the process works smoothly. You do need people to make sure that the process works smoothly. So lastly, because as I said, I don't want to keep you very long, and somebody might have some comments, there are things that we do have to learn from it. We learn halfway through that really communications is all important. We learn how difficult it is to penetrate the barriers within the Welsh Assembly government. That's still some prizes to be delivered there. We know that we've got to keep the momentum up. Still some really important things, you know, things like Wendy's report around older people, going around local authorities, things around private housing stock. There's still a lot more things that need to be done. But I do believe that hopefully this experience of actually coming together with a common purpose and sharing responsibility is something that everyone feels part of. The key questions are, is it embedded? Will it withstand personality changes, right? This is a really interesting thing, because when you go around speaking to people, say, well, how is it work? Oh, well, you know, I phoned Sue up, or I phoned Nick up, or, you know, I phoned Tom up, or wherever it is, phone Ian up, and actually, we're used to doing that in Wales. That's the way we operate, isn't it? But I think we really do have to make sure that this approach is more systematic than that, so it can withstand the change of personality. As I said, I think it worked particularly well in housing, because going around there was a general empathy, and you're at the starting gate really, mostly when you talk to people that have that passion around housing for people. So can you embed it? How do you translate this to other areas? Well, to me, the crucial thing is that you focus on the outcomes. That was there in the connections model, and I guess if Jeremy was here, and I should say that Jeremy Beecham couldn't come today because his wife is quite ill, but Jeremy would say that. It's about keeping your eyes on the outcomes. And to me, I just kept my simple eyes on that simple product of a home for a family that desperately needed it. And having been a politician, and having been there myself, there is nothing more moving than giving people the keys and seeing them go into their home. You know, what that means to a family, a single person, somebody who's needed supporting housing is so crucial. And that's what government and everyone should do, is keep their eyes on that prize. And the structures and the processes, in my view, should be made to fit that. It's been too easy in a way in the past to say administration is what we do in government and try and bend the outcome to that to fit the administration. That really isn't the way forward anymore. It's the other way round. And you can change processes and you can change structures. And in fairness to the Welsh Assembly Government, they've done just that to make that work. So you can embed it, I think, if you really keep your eyes on that prize of the outcome. Because that's what you're there for. That's what you're all there for as public servants, for those of you that sit on voluntary boards, for those of you that are democratically elected members. That's what you're there for. And behind every one of those statistics that Nick put up is a face and a family. And I think that's really, really worth remembering. And in that case, the kind of barriers that there fall away. We have to get rid of some of the mentality. When I was first a minister, you'd get the folder with all the stuff, and there were different folders, and a green one meant it's a submission, and they had these funny kind of names. And then at the end of this, you'd always get these things, and it was called lines to take. And then beneath that would be defensive lines to take. And I said, what do I mean defensive? Oh, yes, you know. And you've got to go in, you've got to know how to defend this line. And it was, I think a lot of the problem starts with that kind of thinking, that you have your line to take and then you defend it come hell or high water. And I'd get rid of that, lines to take and defensive lines to take, because that's a barrier to opening your mind and getting rid of ideas and actually matching up with people. So I think for the civil service here, and you got a lambasting today, didn't it, from Andrew, and I have to say, that's not my experience of all civil servants. I think we have to free civil servants up to move away from the defensive lines to take to the opportunities to create. What can we do? And part of this is getting rid of perhaps that compliance culture that has no doubt lived its day, I think, in my mind, because you've got to allow people to take a little bit of risk. If you want creativity, you've got to allow people to take a little bit of risk. You've got to have accountability around that risk, there's no doubt about that. And that's what I think leadership is for, not to dictate the minutiae, but leadership actually is around supporting people and getting them to be innovative and taking risks. And I think if we can translate that, I do think there's a real opportunity for housing to say, yes, we're embedding this. This is not only there because we've got Nick and we've got Chris and we've got so-and-so. It's because it's there, because it's the right way of operating, because it allows us to deliver the outputs and the outcomes that we actually all believe in. And that is a very translatable message to other areas. There's absolutely no reason, I don't think, that if you approach that it can't apply to other service areas, because that was one of the key things from last week. Can you translate this and move this across? Well, to quote Anne Hitchie, and where is she? Obama? Yes, we can. We can do it. If we can do it in housing, we can do it elsewhere. And what we have to make sure is we've started, and as the saying goes, and this is the way we'll finish. Drop about. Thank you very much.